Well, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be doing a demonstration here. We're at our office, and we've got Joe Grow and Ram Balu, who's helping me out. Our purpose here today is to put on a demo in its most basic format so you can learn to go through this process, be able to put on a demo, and be able to close the sale. You know, it's start, middle, and close. And one of the things that we do always in a demonstration is we always start off by warming up. Now, of course, today we're manufacturing a demo, but really all the basics are about the same. It's about starting and warming up. The last thing I want to do is get into a demo and feel that you're rushing right into the demonstration. See, if you're rushing right into the demonstration, what happens is that people don't feel comfortable with each other yet. You need to feel comfortable with the client. How do you do that? Well, one of the main ways of doing that is by asking questions. You know, like, hey, where do you work? How long have you worked there? Be sincere in your way of asking these questions, because if people feel that you're being phony or not being real, get involved in their life somehow, in somehow being able to communicate. You know, Ram, I know you just arrived a few months back from Mauritius. You know, the first thing I would say, well, where's Mauritius? You know, and I really want to be curious. I really want to be interested in where it is. You know, how long were you there? You were born there. Anything to start a great conversation. You might even see a picture on the wall of where Ram has received an award. Well, you're going to, for me, I'm going to walk up to that picture and I'm going to read right under the award what he was awarded for. And I'm going to be interested, because if I'm interested, then logically they're going to like me more. And if I can show that I truly mean what I say, they are going to feel more comfortable. So the key here is to find some common ground. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to find something that makes them feel that, wow, you know, we kind of know each other, and you get a feel for each other. Now, the key to you as you become a real professional is your ability to make people feel comfortable with you quickly. Now, in the beginning, of course, we're all new. It takes time. Some personalities can evolve to that quicker than other personalities. You'll have to figure it out for your own. But the truth of the matter is if you got to be hungry for that success. And today we're going to show you how to put on a great demo. So let's assume that we've now warmed up. We gotten to know each other. First of all, especially now, when I'm working in the Filipino community, which is quite a bit because we have a large Filipino organization, one of the things, whether I was working in a Filipino community or not, one of the things we always start off with is the UltraCooker. I want them to know as well that, you know, the NutriWay company is a representative of Carico International. We are a worldwide organization, and our organization has been in business for the last 40 plus years. Carico is all over the world in over 30 foreign countries, and this is our headquarters in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Now, as a leader in lifestyle and health and wellness products, one of the reasons why we're so successful, as it says here, our direct-to-consumer method of marketing allows us to offer personalized service, exceptional quality products, tremendous value, and outstanding warranties. Most people agree health is our most valuable asset, and protecting our family's health should be our #1 priority. But good health is not an accident. You've got to make it happen for your family, and here's how you do it. I'm going to start off with this UltraCooker. Now, we are improvising today, or else I'm going to have to stop the video and go get another piece of cookware. We're improvising today with this piece of cookware here that I'm going to tell you about in a little while, and we're going to set that down for now. But let me tell you about this amazing cooker. First question I'm going to ask you is this. Has anybody ever heard, and again, this is the way I do it in a demo. I start off like this. Has anybody ever heard of anything bad or negative about Teflon? The cookware, the caldero that has the non-stick coating. Have you ever heard anything bad about Teflon? Anybody? Ram, Joe? What have you heard bad about Teflon?
Well, it can wear off and scratch off and can cause health problems, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Chemical coating.
It's a paint.
Chemical coating, like paint.
You're right. It is a chemical coating. It is a paint. So what happens is that you're eating off of paint. Now that coating comes off. Does anyone know what the manufacturer says that when you scratch a piece of the cookware, what are you supposed to do with it?
Throw it away.
Throw it away. Who does that? Nobody. See, they're eating off of paint. And one of the things is whether it's your cookware or whether it is your rice cooker. Rice cookers have the inside bucket is Teflon. And if you've ever noticed in a rice cooker, you look inside and you see all the numbers are now shining. And at the bottom, it's all scratched. See, paint, would you agree with this, gives off its own gases and oils? If you smell any paint, even older paint, it can have, again, it's made of the chemicals, and it goes into your food, doesn't it? This is a real health concern, and especially for people. Now, some people will have one pan that's Teflon. But you know, one of the things that concerns me a lot, because of course I'm married to a Filipina, my wife is Filipino, and of course we cook rice every day. Prior to us coming out with this product, every day they're eating out of paint, and it's coming off into the food. If you Google right now on the internet, Teflon and cancer, and you read the reports and the research, that's not even coming from us, it's just coming from solid research, that there is a severe health concern that Teflon is a contributor, strong contributor to cancer. Now could you imagine, knowing that this research is done, that so many families are eating this stuff, it's going into their food. And this is why so many people are saying, hey, once they know, they start making changes. And I'll tell you something, one of the greatest changes that you could make that is absolutely amazing is this cooker. See, this is not just a rice cooker. This is, I call it like just about a 10-in-1. It's a rice cooker. It's a pressure cooker, a slow cooker, a steamer. It makes soup. It can, here where it says browning, all right? Now, if you were getting this and you want it, if you took this off, okay? Now look at this. If I press, I got to make sure I got it. Okay, browning. As soon as I press browning, what is browning? Browning, that's going to turn hot inside here, and you can literally gisa, you can saute, you can fry. Now, what happens if you put the lid on? Now, once you press start, okay, now you put the lid on. As you can see, it has an error sign. Because when you're browning, you do not want to have a lid on. You can't fry things with a lid on. It's a safety feature. That's how well designed this unit is. It is a safety feature. So now we're going to cancel the browning, and I'll tell you something, one of the greatest things of all in this cookware is this. This is made out of surgical stainless steel. This bucket is amazing because when you've done your cooking, we will set it down and it stays hot. It'll keep the food hot over an hour, even longer. What I really like about it, see, one of the things, Robert and I were working in Manila. And in Manila, whatever appointment you're going to see, it's usually a 2-hour drive. So Robert shortened the thing up, because what we do, now today we're not going to do this, but if this is a normal demo, we would be cooking today. Filipino culture, if you were making a fritada or adobo or any of these dishes, what we would do now is we would start the dish now. But see, one of the things we always wanted to do in demos as well, we wanted to cook rice. So what Robert started doing is he would cook the rice in this bucket before we leave. What we would do is unplug it and we would go. I'm telling you, after 2 hours of being on the road, sometimes 2.5, we would open this up and the steam would come out as if you just made the rice. It was still piping hot. Now, why would that be important to you? I'll tell you why. Because it saves so much electricity, so much corriente. You know why? Joe, you know how a stove will heat up, and you'll see the red burner on if it's an electric stove. Mm-hmm. Now, when it reaches the temperature that you want, that you set it for, it will turn off, correct?
Yes.
And then when the temperature starts to go down a little bit, enough, it'll turn back on, so it maintains that heat. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. Here's how this cooker works. This is why it's amazing worldwide. Not only are people getting healthier, Ram, but what they're doing is they're saving a tremendous amount of money. You know, it was proof to me. I knew right from the beginning that you save a lot of money. But it was proof to me in Manila, where we would drive for 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and then we would open it up and it would be just like we just made it, hot-wise. Now what does that tell you? It tells you that it retains the heat. So when this heats up to cook, it will get to that cooking heat spot. Then it shuts off. And it keeps cooking. But because it retains so well the heat, it doesn't have to come on hardly at all. Now that in most cases the pressure is built up, it will stay hot. So it takes very little electricity to keep it cooking. It's amazing. But you know, I'll tell you something. When you taste this food today, for example, one of my favorites is making adobo. Now, I don't know how to make it like my wife knows how to make it, but when I was in Guam training, and me and Lisa were working together, and many of the other ladies there, Editha and Ida, etc., Emma, what we would do is I would just get the mamacita mix, and I would buy some short ribs, and we'd throw it inside. I only put a small amount in the bottom, put a little mamacita, press meat, right here, meat, start. Now see how it starts to circle? Now that's going to circle and circle for 5 or 10 or 15 minutes. I'm going to cancel it because we're not cooking today. That'll circle and circle until it builds up the proper pressure and heat. Then you're going to see here, it's going to say 10 minutes left or 15, whatever it says, 8 minutes left, and it starts to count down. And I got to tell you something. It is amazing. People are buying this all over the world. Why? Because even if they have children that are coming home from school and maybe they're in their teenagers and mom just leaves a little bit of mix, let's say some meat and some other vegetables and maybe some afritada mix or tomato sauce or whatever. She could throw it in. The child could just throw it in. Press meat and start. If it's chicken, poultry and start. If you're making soup and start. If you're making sinigang, soup and start. If you're making beans and start. If it's mongo, beans and start. If you want to steam items, whether it's steamed fish, you get a rack with this. You just press the steamer. You want to steam camote, 12 minutes, they're done. Amazing. This is the best cooker. If you had all the separate things that this does, if you were to buy each unit that does its separate thing, it would probably cost you thousands of dollars. And you're going to see here today that we're one of the most competitive companies, and the food is great. And anybody that's watching this video, let me tell you something. Right now, I'd be cooking the adobo, and if the rice is already done, if I had cooked it prior to coming, because at the end, What I love doing is I love breaking bread with the client, okay? Now, what I'm going to do is maybe at the end, I'm going to go get an actual piece of cookware, and we can put this on pause so I can show the up-to-date cookware. I don't want to show that. That's not going to work well for us. But anyways, I'm going to carry on. I just showed this. I want them to see. Now, most people will invest when they invest in this, most people, when they purchase this, will invest in a second one of these. They will purchase a second one of these. Now, you're probably saying, bakit? Now, you would say, why? Well, the reason why is when you have a second one, for example, now Joe, if you feel, I only had that on for 1 second, right? Like, I mean, not 1 second, but about 4 seconds. Look how, feel the heat on the bottom of that already.
Wow, that's pretty hot.
All right, and it's off now, but I had that on just for a few seconds going like that. Look how hot that was, all right?
That's amazing.
It's very, very hot, and it retains the heat. So it's surgical stainless steel. At the bottom, it has a heat core here, so it's going to hold the heat. So what I'm going to do is I like to buy a second one. Once the adobo's done, I'm going to put it over here, maybe put a plate over it, and then I'm going to put the next bucket in, and I'm going to press rice in.
Good stuff, spices, and very tasty. And they sell a lot in Mauritius, and often they cook this, and we can do like kalya, chicken kalya, in this, very good.
Okay, so in Mauritius, you're making biryani, which is a nice rice and chicken dish. You can make biryani, kalya. There's so many things. I mean, in the typical Canadian dishes, Joe, I guess that would be similar to, let's say, a stew. You know, you make a nice stew and dishes of that type. You know, in this here, you can make a whole chicken. You brown it first, then you put it on the rack, put a little chicken broth inside, put the whole chicken in, and poultry and start. If you wanted to cook a little longer, you might use the timer. If you want to use the timer, 99% of the things that you cook, you would just do meat and start, chicken and start, beans and start. Very simple. The sensors sense it. But sometimes for things that are a little harder, let's say if you're cooking oxtail. Now sometimes some oxtail is harder than other. So if you really want it to be soft, you might do meat and start, or you might just go meat, press timer, and set it for 40 minutes, and then press start. Very simple. It is so, so great. Amazing. Now what I'm going to do is at the end, I'm going to have them taste the food, and I'm going to close the sale. All right? So now this is cooking. Now we carry on. Now, one of the things that you're always going to hear me say in a demo is when I teach people about selling, I teach them about selling the problem. What is selling the problem? Selling the problem is showing people that there is a serious problem and how they are connected to that problem before I tell how great our product is. Let me show you. This is the way I'm going to start my water demo. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to get my water brochure. We have a few of my brochures here have just fallen down, so we're going to get these back out here, and let me show you here. I got my water presentation booklet. Now, all right, so now I'm moving into the water. I just finished this. I'm going to move into the water. Here's how I sell the problem. An article that you download off the internet. You Google chlorine, cancer, and heart disease. Google that article. I apologize, I don't have it with me this particular moment. We've already started the demo, and I would have to go up and download it. We're here at the office. So, but when you Google it, it's the first one that comes up. Because we don't have it, I'm going to just tell you in a demo as if I'm telling. But in most cases, I have the sheet and I'm pointing as well as telling. All right? So, you Google it, chlorine, cancer, and heart disease. At the top of the page, it says, the medical college, you got to feel the problem. You can't just rattle it off as if it has no meaning to you. because they got to see that this problem is connected to them. So your voice levels, your body language has to feel it. Let me show you. I say, you know, Joe and Ram, at the top of this article here that I downloaded from the internet, it says that the Medical College of Wisconsin, the research team there, has now convinced that there's an association between cancer and chlorinated water. And just down here on the sheet, we had the sheet here, just down here it says that people who drink chlorinated water have and or drink, cook, shower have a 93% greater chance of contacting cancer than people that do not drink or cook with the water. Now, a lot of people might say to me, you know, Gerry, I don't drink the water. I drink bottled water. Let me ask you this. When you are making rice, where do you go for the water? You go to the tap, don't you? When you're making soup, sinigang, where do you go for the water? You go to the tap, don't you? And I'm going to show you how you, later on in a test that we're going to do, I'm going to show you how you're actually eating and drinking that chlorination and all the other chemicals that are in the water. Not just by drinking it like this. But now that we brought up, discuss bottled water. Has anybody here in this audience ever, or in this demonstration, have you ever heard anything bad or negative about if you left a bottle of water in your car? Why should you not drink it if it sat in the sun? Have you ever heard anything bad about that? Joe, you, or Ram?
Yeah, it releases toxin in it, the bisphenol, which is in the plastics. It's sipped into the water. There's a reaction between the water and the plastic.
That's right. And you know something, guys? Yeah, Joe.
I also have experienced where I left it in my van when it is 20 or 30 degrees centigrade, that fungus and mold grows. I open it up and it smells horrible.
Well, you're right. And you know what? Maybe I'll just say one thing because this isn't an actual demo where I can actually stop and say, why am I asking you guys questions? I'm asking you the questions. I could have just told you the problem, but I asked you the questions. Now, why would I ask you the question? Yeah, sure.
You're attempting to get the customer involved.
Right.
And when you're asking, you're not preaching to them. You're getting them involved and getting their feedback and input and interaction.
All right, that's very, very true. That's exactly why I'm asking you these questions. I want you involved. You know what? Because if I say something, it's one thing. If you say something, it's everything. So I want you involved. I want you connected. So I'll keep going. So you are right about the water in the car, what you just said, Ram. And Joe, what you said about the mold growing and the chemicals, the dioxins from the plastics go right into the water. It is cancer causing. It is one of the worst things you could do. Now here's my big question. It is summertime right now. And in Philippines, it's summertime all the time. In Arizona, California, Florida, 90% of the year, 95. Here in Canada, 6 months out of the year. Let me ask you this. The bottled water companies, do you think when they're making the bottled waters and they're stacking it in the warehouses that they stack the millions of bottles that they make, do you think that they air condition those warehouses?
Maybe, maybe not.
No, they don't. What company would want to spend the millions of dollars to air condition a warehouse? No, the bottled water companies do not do that. You can do your own research and you're going to see they don't do it. Do you think that the bottled waters, you see them in the trucks, do you think that when they bring it to the stores, do they put it in refrigerated trucks? No, they don't. You see them, the bottles are stuck in the side, the sunlight's right on them. So whenever it's hot, if you live in an area or it's summertime in your area, whenever it's hot, those bottles heat up before you buy them. You know, all I can say is this. If I had a choice between tap water and bottled water, I still feel more comfortable with bottled water, even if it's the best of two evils, because it's still not good. If I'm on the road and I got no choice, well, I'm still going to go for the bottled water. But it isn't the best place to be, especially when you're in your own city and you're in your own house and you're in your own car where you bring these stainless steel Caraco flasks that we carry, and I bring my own water. So most of the time I don't have to do that. See, like it says here in the brochure, our body is 70% water. That's what we are. All of our body functions depend on it. We rehydrate, we replenish the body. However, in the last century alone, the contaminants and the pollutants that have polluted our environment are really hurting us. You've probably seen them spray, Joe, on fields. What are they spraying on fields?
Pesticides, insecticides, herbicides.
That's right. They're spraying these pesticides. What are they designed to do?
Kill.
That's right. They're killing organisms. They're killing bugs. The only difference between those bugs and us is we have bigger filters. We have a bigger liver to filter those poisons. But eventually, it catches up to us, doesn't it? Eventually, it's not going to do us good justice. And to get back to now, the chlorination of water. In that article, it says that in the middle here, it says 1 in every 8 women in the world will get breast cancer. I mean, if you think of 1 in every 8 women will get breast cancer. And the interesting thing is that a study done in Hartford, Connecticut found that women with breast cancer had 60% more chlorine compounds in their breast tissue than women without breast cancer. Wow. Could you imagine? Could you imagine that right here, today, you know, I'm here in Toronto, and St. Margaret's Hospital here in Toronto is our oncology hospital, our cancer clinic. And knowing what I just read from that research is, that means, I'm sure last week or the week before or this month, there is a certain amount of women that are in that hospital, and maybe they just got their breasts removed, and they're on chemo or radiation, and their hair's falling out. And the only bad thing they did was drink and cook and shower in the water, because their body couldn't handle it. That's what the research shows. This is why I'm so motivated. This is why I'm so motivated that people need to invest their money in high-tech, high-quality water filtration systems. I see that you have a Brita water filter here. You know what? I really like that because it shows that you've taken a step in the right direction. But now I'm going to show you why you need to upgrade. See, if you notice how I just did that, I'm going to pause for a second. See, if I notice that they're drinking out of a Brita, I want to recognize them positively for taking a step in the right direction, and I want them to know that it's only a step. Now they got to take the big step and invest in high quality. If they're on bottled water, same thing. You heard the story about bottled water a minute ago. I want them to know that it is not the answer. Okay, let's continue. So as I was saying, the women that are affected by this, and I usually use the analogy of Has anybody here ever heard of someone being allergic to penicillin? Have you ever heard of that before, Joe?
Actually, I did hear some weird things happen if you take penicillin that could be quite severe.
Well, you know what? For the people that are allergic, it's two things can happen. They can either get violently sick or it'll kill them. Now, if I take penicillin and I have an infection, I would heal. But even me, if I continue to take penicillin every day for whatever amount of years and years, eventually it's going to damage my liver. Eventually it's going to affect me negatively as well. So here's what I'm trying to say. Chlorinated water. And that's only one of the chemicals in there. There's hundreds. There's pesticides, insecticides. That's why I started to show you that here. Chlorinated water, for some people, it affects them really quickly, within 10 or 20 years. For others, it takes a long time, but eventually it affects